Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and we've got a slightly unusual video for you today. See, there was just some pretty huge news out of Wizards about the future of Magic and we wanted to share our thoughts on it. Considering, this just marks a fundamental change in the way all non-supplemental sets are going to be released forever, so yeah. In case you somehow have no idea what we're talking about, we're referring to the article Metamorphosis, which was released on the official Magic website yesterday. It details a complete overhaul to the annual release schedule for Magic sets, so let's go through those changes. The releases affected can be thought of as the main releases, the 4 seasonal releases for blocks and corsets that drive the schedule for standard rotation. Right now, we have the first set of a block, such as Return to Ravnica, Theros in the fall. The second set, Gatecrasher Born of the Gods, comes out in the winter. The third block, like Dragon's Maze Journey into Nyx, releases in the spring. And then the annual core set comes out in the summer. Fall comes again and rotation happens. The new block set comes out, the second previous block rotates out, and the second previous core set rotates out. So at its smallest, standard is 5 sets. At its largest, standard is 8. Here are the changes. First, they're doing away with corsets, like completely. A corset will still come out in summer of 2015. The 2016 corset if they keep their current naming convention, but that's it. The fall 2015 block set, currently codenamed Blood, instead of being the first set of a 3-set block, will be the first set of a 2-set block. The second and final set of that block will be the set codenamed Sweat. The spring 2016 set, codenamed Tears, had previously been thought of to be the third set of that block. Instead, it's the first set of a new block. The second set for Tears block is the newly revealed Fears, also a codename, of course, in summer 2016. This pattern continues for the 2016 to 17 blocks, codenamed Lockstock and Barrel Monkey. This also affects rotation. Basically, instead of each block of 3 sets remaining in standard for 2 years, each block of 2 sets will remain in standard for a year and a half. This does have the slightly awkward side effect of splitting the rotation of Khans of Tarkir block. The first 2 sets, Khans itself and Dewey, will rotate out when Tears releases in spring 2016. However, the third set, Louis, and the core set to be released in summer 2015 won't rotate out until Lock releases in fall 2016. After that, though, the rotation schedule aligns with the release schedule of the mini blocks, one rotation in spring and one in fall. With the new rotation in place, standard will still be 5 sets at its smallest, but it will only be 6 sets at its largest. On the other hand, those 6 sets will be more mechanically diverse, so we don't really stand to lose complexity. So how does that affect us? Well, if you have been following the reactions to these changes, you may have noticed something. The response has been almost universally positive. In case you're unfamiliar with how fandom in general typically works, that's exceedingly rare, but it's completely reasonable. We here at the Mana Source are all excited about it too, and here's why. This change solves many of the problems that Magic design currently faces. First is the so-called third set problem. Look back at the last few years of 3-set Magic blocks. How many of them have had their third set that fulfill what the ideal third set is supposed to be? That is, how many of them continue the themes of the block while still being fun to play? The answer is very few. Most third sets of late have either been total mechanical and/or flavor reboots, or just not been as good. In fact, the question of how to make a third set good isn't a new one. It goes all the way back to Mirage, the first block ever designed to have 3 sets. Rise of the Eldrazi and Avacyn Restored were total mechanical reboots. New Phyrexia was a significant flavor reboot with a mechanical shift attached. Dragon's Maze was just a mess. And while Journey into Nyx was, all things considered, actually pretty awesome, it got that way by taking away from the second set Born of the Gods. Under the new system, there is no third set problem because there's no third set. Occasionally, blocks may have ties to each other to make larger than 2-set experiences. Think back to the Lorwyn and Shadowmoor mini blocks, the first time the 2-set block structure was experimented with in a dedicated manner. But by and large, blocks are just going to be 2 sets, ensuring they end before they become stale and played out. The second problem this solves is corsets. Corsets have to be appropriate for new players while also having some appeal to established players. As a result, they wind up in this weird void where neither new nor veteran players can fully enjoy them. Notice how they really had to pull out all the stops to get us hyped for Magic 2015. That kind of hype is neither reasonable to expect out of corsets regularly, nor is it sustainable in the long term. This way, Wizards gets to send out the corset concept with a bang in 2015 and then focus on just delivering new quality block content. Now, this does mean that without corsets to provide a concentrated shot to the arm of reprints, we're going to see more reprints and block expansions. But honestly, Wizards has gotten so good at placing their reprints that we don't even mind. Besides, think of it this way, even if you only play Standard, reprints mean your cards aren't automatically worthless forever after rotation happens. As for new players, we have been assured that R&D is working on something new as a product to bring new players into the game. Think back to the Portal and Starter sets of the late 90s and early 2000s. This will be something removed from standard rotation, dedicated to keeping complexity low for new players, like a core set, but without the burden of having to appeal to veterans. It should also be noted that we have been assured that the lack of core sets will not lead to decreased complexity of block expansions, which is pretty awesome. The third problem solved by this change, and arguably the best improvement here, is keeping Standard fresh. Back in the old days, there was less internet to go around, and major events happened maybe once a month. Now we've got Grand Prix and SCG Opens every week, and pro players and deck builders break new formats over their knees in no time. And then we usually have to live with whatever they figure out for a year or so. If you've been watching our tournament review series, you may notice familiar deck names coming up all the time. Blue Devotion, Black Devotion, Green-Red Monsters, Blue-White Control, all these decks have been around since last fall at the latest, and they're still putting up results. Now, Standard will rotate every 6 months. When that happens, some decks will lose power cards and new decks will come up to fill in the gaps. It's just like what happens now, but frequently enough that we don't get bored of it in the meantime. There's even a fourth problem solved here, though it isn't directly game-related. Instead, it's a story problem. See, the thing about Magic is that it only gets one storyline a year right now. Without overcrowding those stories, it's difficult to focus on a variety of characters and actually get to develop them. Look at Theros block, for example. For the past year, the story has been focused mainly on Elspeth, Ajani, and a few legendary creatures that are going to get left behind when we shift to another plane. This way, the Magic year now consists of 2 stories, meaning we get to see even more awesome characters in action. One last thing we want to clarify is what this doesn't affect. These changes only affect the regular cycle of releases, the main 4 sets released in fall, winter, spring, and summer. Supplemental products have nothing to do with this restructuring. That's your Modern Masters, Conspiracy, multiplayer supplements like Plane Chase and Arch Enemy, the annual Commander releases. Those are all still working the way they already do, which is basically Wizards doing whatever they want, but usually something in the late spring and then something Commander flavored in late fall. So yeah, that's the breakdown. Blocks are smaller and more plentiful, the core set is dead, long live the core set, standard rotation is more frequent, and we're all super excited about it. Join us tomorrow for the conclusion to our top 10 best standard cards and Thursday for our weekly Altered Art series. And of course, we'll be picking up bright and early on Monday with the beginning of Khans of Tarkir spoiler season. Yeah, pumped. Anyways, subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.
Wow.